officers and board members, installation of officers, Big I National Update with Big I's Bob Rusbolt, and a Kansas legislative update on the producer licensing bill with Commissioner Schmidt and Lee Modestet from the insurance department. And I would ask now if Dave Holcher would like to give us a quick update on some upcoming events and things that are going on with the association.
Okay, thanks guys. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty on our end here, but hopefully everybody is seeing our screen. I just want to give you a quick update on some of the upcoming events that we have. You know, as you know, it's been very difficult to host any in-person meetings through the pandemic, which I know our staff and our leadership is really bummed about. But we have made some decisions on opportunities going forward. The first is going to be our President's Classic, which is going to be from on April 26th and April 27th, a golf tournament, so it will be outside. We'll also be hosting a reception and the Young Agents Silent Auction. As many of you know, the proceeds from the silent auction go to fund our Young Agents program, and they've been doing great work recently. Next, we've also made the decision, the board made the decision and got feedback from our industry partners as well as our membership on holding our Rural and Small Conference, which is scheduled to be on June 7th through June 9th. It will be held in Salina at the Tony's Pizza Arena. Plenty of space to allow us to put the precautions in place and social distancing that we may need to do. So we look forward to that, and we appreciate everybody's patience as we do our best to navigate the pandemic and when we can get together. So thank you to our members and industry partners that completed the survey on rural and small. We've got another exciting event, a year delayed, but Bob Fee's installation as Big I National Chairperson. And that will be happening, his official installation, I believe, is on October 2nd. So we're excited about that. A couple other announcements. The National Alliance course calendar is available, the CICs, the CISRs, and the Ruble. That schedule is out there. And if you want to check that out, that'd be great. We are holding those. We are going to be holding those virtually, and we have partnered with the Oklahoma Association to realize some efficiencies in doing that. They have a nice system of live streaming that'll give you a better experience than maybe the traditional online experience. February 18th will be a webinar with Tarmica. We have recently developed a relationship with them to give our members a discounted pricing on that. And for those of you not familiar with Tarmica, it is a system that allows you to quote single entry, multiple carriers for small commercial lines business. We also have established a relationship with HR Partners and Christina Dietrich, who is based in Topeka. If you're like our organization right now, there is tons of unemployment fraud going on, and I know our organization has seen some fraudulent unemployment claims come through, and Christina will be able to help guide that. The purpose of that is to be able to ask any questions about HR related issues in your agency. And that really is to supplement the good work that the National Association has done with their Big I Hires initiative, which offers some great tools for hiring folks as well as affinity HR partners. That is another resource available for that. But we feel like given the challenges of COVID and the personnel issues that have cropped up from that we really needed a local resource, and Christina Dietrich can help you. Finally, as part of our strategic plan, we want to make sure that we have as clean a data and information on our members so that we can facilitate effective communication. And we will be in the near future rolling out a member profile for you to complete. So please complete that so we can get as much data as we can. Okay. Lastly, that's the last thing I have. So I'll turn it back over to you, Christy.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to take a moment to recognize KAI's 2021 industry partners for their support of the association. The support from their participation in the industry partner program allows us to serve members in a much deeper way. If there is an industry partner that any of you would like to connect with, just reach out to Joan Sutton and she'll be able to get you in touch with them. And whenever you have the opportunity, please express your appreciation for their support. These industry leading companies provide to us, and it's muchly appreciated. Okay, so the first order of business, we are going to conduct the annual Kansas Insurance Agents Political Action Committee meeting. And at this time, I would like to ask Kevin Campbell, who is chair of the Kansas Insurance Agents Political Action Committee, to lead the annual KIAPAC meeting. Are you there, Kevin? There you go.
Let's try that again. So now
Yeah,
can you hear me?
I
Wow.
can.
Thank you. And it just wouldn't be me if I didn't screw something up technologically. So there you go. There's at least one shot. Man, what a good picture of Brock. So yes, we will get started on the KIAPAC meeting. The virtual annual membership meeting of KIAPAC is hereby called to order. I'd like to open the meeting by reminding everyone that the KIAPAC contributes to those individuals that will be supportive on issues important to independent agents and small businesses. Money is distributed at the direction of KAIA's Government Affairs Committee, which is our largest and most active committee. Our contributions go to those in either party that are supportive on our issues and to individuals that sit on insurance-related committees. I would like now to entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. A copy was sent out prior to the meeting for your review via email from Dave or Joan. Can we get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
We've got that taken care of. Motion Doug Smart, second Bob Fee and Joe Aaron. Thank you for that.
So all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Raise a hand. Brock, are you opposed? No, that's just a delayed look on my part. All right. We will consider that motion passed. Thank you. Copies of the 2019-2020 annual report compiled by our accounting firm are available upon request. Due to the timing of this meeting, we have a summary for both fiscal years. For fiscal year ending November 30th, 2019, we had a total income of just over $17,000, expenditures of just over $5,000, and a remaining fund balance of $52,000 and change. Keep in mind that fiscal year 2019 was a non-election year. For fiscal year ending on November 30th, 2020, our total income is $13,600 with expenditures of $40,563, which reduced the fund balance to $25,000 and change. So that was a year that we distributed to our political partners, whereas the year before was not. Obviously, I guess that's what that says. Obviously, 2020 was an election year and made total campaign contributions of $36,500 in both primary and general elections.
Kevin, I just want to note that we didn't update that slide, so it should be 36,500. So just to clarify. So thanks for that.
Well, thank you for that. All right, I probably misread it. You can see that we contributed to 78 general election races and posted a 94% winning percentage. And for those of you that haven't participated in that, we get a tremendous amount of input from our lobbyist, Dan, and then also Dave's staff, Will and team on those. And they're very interesting to go through and especially hear Dan's sort of inside baseball view. So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve our last 2 fiscal year end financial statements.
I so move.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, second.
I'm just going to ask for, is there anyone opposed to approving these 2? Raise your hand. Seeing no hands raised, we will consider those approved. The next item, thank you to all that have made contributions to KIAPAC. They are generally made during the membership dues renewal process, and we encourage every member agency to contribute at least $100 on an annual basis. The money that we can contribute to campaigns provides us with the opportunity to develop relationships that are vital to having a dialogue on issues important to our members. We encourage you to get involved in your local races, work for candidates, and build relationships. Grassroots connections are critically important for our issues. If you have a strong relationship with a representative in your district, please let us know so we can reach out to you to help influence on our issues. KAIA and the Government Affairs Committee have enjoyed a very positive relationship with the Kansas Insurance Department. Commissioner Schmidt and her team have been very inclusive and open to our feedback. We will continue to work closely with Kansas Insurance Department to ensure that our members are best positioned to bring value to Kansas consumers. We look forward to hearing from them later in this meeting. Finally, the bylaws of KIAPAC call for the confirmation of a chairman and treasurer. I would like to have a motion to elect Brock Elliott as chairman and Dave Holzer as treasurer.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any opposition to those? Seeing no raised hands, we will consider that passed. And my apologies, Brock. I'm just reading the script Dave wrote, so I had nothing to do with that. But he couldn't have had a better choice. Is there any old business to come before the annual business meeting of KIAPAC? Raise your hand, shout it out. If you choose the latter, you'll have to go off mute. Seeing no hands, any new business? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn the KIAPAC meeting?
So move.
Second.
Any opposition? Seeing none, I will turn it back over to Christy.
All right, thank you, Kevin, for that. Now I would like to call the annual membership meeting of the Kansas Association of Insurance Agents to order. At this time, I would like to ask for a motion to approve our last annual membership meeting minutes, and copies were sent out prior to the meeting for your review. Hopefully you all received that. I need a motion and a second to make that happen.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Okay, sounds like I've got both. All those opposed, I guess, speak up. All right, we'll assume that is passed. Per our bylaws, the president-elect serves as chairperson of the nominating committee, which is made up of KAI's officers. I'd now like to ask Doug Smart, chairman of the nominating committee, for his report.
Thank you, Christy. Good morning, everyone. The nominating committee would like to offer the following slate of officers and board members for the 2021 fiscal year of KAIA. These members have been voted on and approved by the KAIA board. I'm going to list the name and the position. Doug Smart, President. Joe Aaron Studeville, President-elect. Lucas Raleigh, Vice President Treasurer. Josh Goodman, Secretary, Assistant Treasurer. Cindy Hauer, National Director. Christy Wilson, Immediate Past President. Sean Myers, Zone 1 Director. Brian Schmitz, Zone 2 Director. Dave Sanders, Dave Vogel, Kevin O'Brien, and Brock Elliott as Directors at Large, and Bryce Hunley as our YAC Young Agents Committee rep. Under the bylaws, I automatically move from President-elect to President, and our current President, Christie, automatically becomes Immediate Past President. Are there any additional nominations? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to elect the announced slate of officers and board members. Do we have a motion?
I so move. Bob Fee.
Okay, do we hear a second? Okay, Brock, thank you. I'm going to ask for all in favor to either say aye or raise your hand or send something so we have something documented.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, thank you. Sounds like a pass, Christie.
Deal. At this time, it is my great pleasure to present the President's Gavel, which we don't have. I'm sorry, I said that, Doug, to our new president of the Kansas Association of Insurance Agents, Doug Smart.
Thank you, Christie. I want to take a moment to first of all welcome our new board members, Dave Vogel and Dave Sanders. We're thrilled to have you with us, and we are very excited to get together in person and get better acquainted and get you filled in on all the fun stuff we do as a board. I also want to take a moment of personal privilege to recognize and thank Austin Wren and Kevin Campbell for their participation on the KAIA board. We appreciate you sharing your time, your expertise, and your friendship with us, and we know we'll continue to see you at a lot of events. So we're tickled about that, but sad to see you go. I also want to recognize our outgoing immediate past president, Lee Gleason. After all the years of serving on the board and the executive committee, and then to have a pandemic lengthened final year, we appreciate your leadership and patience, Lee. And I can honestly say Lee did continue to be an active member of the board as past president, so we appreciate that. And Christie, I have to believe that you're the only president to lead KAIA through a pandemic. You may have served a bit longer than you would have liked, but we thank you very much for that. Your always calm, thoughtful leadership allowed KAIA leaders and staff to remain positive and helped us adapt and find new ways to serve our members. It was truly an example of steadfast, consistent leadership. You are the best, and we thank you again for your service. Finally, I want to recognize our friend, Mr. Bob Fee, who is pulling double duty as Big I Chair-elect for 2 years. We know that leading through the pandemic at the Big I National Association has been incredibly stressful, but you've been able to continue to keep the train on the tracks with the national team continuing to add value to your members, and we appreciate that. We look forward to your installation in October, we hope, in Kansas City. I'd like to now ask if there's any old business to come before we close the annual membership meeting. Anybody got anything else? Okay, hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this adjourns the annual meeting of the Kansas Association of Insurance Agents. I'll now turn it back over to Dave Holcher to proceed with the installation of the officers.
Thank you for that, Doug. Let me just take a minute to let everybody know that we hit our 2020 InsurePAC goal, which was 28,500. I'd like to thank all of the members that contributed to helping us get to that goal. You know, at the end of the day, our ultimate goal is to be able to get to the point where every member agency is contributing $100 to InsurePAC. So on the screen, I just wanted to recognize those folks that made contributions and helped us raise $29,945. So we hit our goal, and that's great news. So our next step is going to be the installation of the officers. And I'd like to welcome our special guest to do the installation, Mr. Bob Rusbolt, who is CEO of the Big I National Association. Not only is Bob going to do the installation, but he'll also provide us with a national legislative update afterwards. So I'd like to welcome Bob and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today. So I'll turn it over to you, Bob.
Well, thank you so much, Dave, for having me, and thank you, Kansas, for having me, and congratulations on your 100th anniversary. We're celebrating our 125th anniversary this year at the national level, and congratulations on making your InsurePAC goal. It's always awesome, and congratulations on the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. Oh, wait, I'm a couple days early on that, but I have confidence. I'm going to install the officers now, so it's my pleasure to virtually install the new officers of the Kansas Association of Insurance Agents. Can you please unmute the following officers for the induction? President Doug Smart, President-elect Joe Aaron Studeville, Treasurer Lucas Raleigh, Secretary, Assistant Treasurer Josh Goodman, National Director, the great Cindy Hauer, immediate past President Christy Wilson. I assume everybody is unmuted. Please raise your right hand. Do you promise to uphold and administer the office to which you have been elected to the best of your ability and in conformity with the bylaws of the association?
I do.
I do.
do.
Do you promise that all of your acts will be governed by the principles of honesty, justice, fair play, and in every manner possible promote and safeguard the high purpose of the association?
I do.
By virtue of the authority conferred upon me, I proclaim you to be officially installed as officers and directors of the Kansas Association of Insurance Agents. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, your new Kansas Association of Insurance Agents officers. I know great things will be happening in Kansas. Super Bowl and with the Big I of Kansas. Dave asked me to make a few comments about what's going on in Washington, D.C. Rather than 5 to 10 minutes that Dave has given me, I could go on for 5 to 10 hours, obviously, with what's going on in our country. You know, there's too many cliches about 2020 with COVID and all the challenges in our country, and there are many. But we have to put everything in historical context, obviously, both from the Big I perspective and from our country's perspective. Yes, we had a pandemic. It was not unprecedented in this country. Some of you remember the Spanish flu from your history lessons in the early 1900s, which was even worse than what we're experiencing now. And our country's gone through everything from Civil War, World War. So we're going to get through this as a country. I am pleased to report the Big I as an association has done incredibly well over the last year. Bob Fee has served, as was previously mentioned, for 2 years as chairman-elect and will be installed in Kansas City as chairman this coming October. And the association has been there for our members. We use the little motto, the Big I has your back. And a perfect example during the COVID crisis has been we've raised $2.8 million in a special COVID relief fund for our members. We've dispersed over $1.6 million to agents and agencies in need, those that may be have a heavy hospitality book where their clients have been stressed and so forth. So we are truly there for our members, and we put action where our words are. So we're very proud of that accomplishment. You know, elections have consequences. We know that. It's an old cliche, but it's true. We went from divided government where Republicans controlled the Senate, the Democrats the House, and the Republicans the White House and executive branch, and now we have the entire federal government controlled by one party. So there's going to be a change. You've already seen the change in the executive orders. We're going to see it legislatively over the next 2 years. The 2 Georgia Senate losses were really significant business community. And we're going to see that in the Senate in the next couple of years. So we have a lot of accomplishments from 2020 legislatively. We were able to beat back a bunch of the business interruption retroactive proposals that would have really devastated a lot of our insurance companies and obviously independent agencies. We don't have enough surplus in the entire property casualty industry to cover retroactively business interruption claims. There was never any reserving for that. So most of the court cases, the vast majority have gone the way of the industry. There have been some outliers in Ohio, North Carolina, and some other places where it's gone against the insurers. But keep your eye on the litigation. There was a bill introduced in the last Congress by Carolyn Maloney, a Democrat from New York, called PRIA. The Pandemic Risk Insurance Act is very similar to TRIA, the Terrorism Risk Insurance Act. We did not support that bill. We think there's it's the genesis of the bill and its ultimate outcome were two different things. We actually liked the way it started, but we didn't like the way it ended up in final legislative outcome. So that's right now. We'll be back on the plate for this coming year. We got a full exemption for independent agencies from the burdensome new federal reporting requirements for all small businesses in the country. The only exemption was for insurance agencies, which we got in the law. It's part of the National Defense Authorization Act. It's to put the kibosh, so to speak, on financial misappropriation of funds in small businesses. Large businesses have had this federal reporting requirement for years. They tried to put it on small business. We got an exemption because we're state regulated. You already report a lot of this information to your state insurance departments. It would have been redundant, but burdensome. And under both civil and criminal penalties for small businesses. So a lot of your clients may not even know that they have to comply with this new law, but you do not. So that was a big win for us. We did a lot of work on the PPP program. As you know, many of you probably applied for and were granted those loans, which are being converted right now into grants. Some of our state associations, Big I state associations, the for-profit side in the first round, received PPP loans, which are being converted to grants. And now the new law allows trade associations, 501c6 organizations, to apply for that. And as of this morning, InsureBank, which is a bank that we have an equity position in, that we started, the Big I, is a bank started by independent agents for independent agents. There are now 18 state associations that are applying for PPP assistance under the new law. So it's been very beneficial to independent agencies, our state associations, and thousands and thousands of your clients, of course, have received PPP assistance. And we've done a lot of work on that in a couple of bills. We also last year got an extension of the National Flood Insurance Program through the end of September of 21. So we'll be dealing with that again this coming year. So what's on the plate for this coming year? Taxes. With the Democrats controlling all of Congress and all of Washington now, that is going to come in the near future. You saw President Biden's tax agenda during the campaign. That hasn't changed yet. They will probably use the reconciliation process for that, which means you need a simple majority in the Senate. Under the Biden proposal, he is looking to raise the top individual income tax rate, which of course 2/3 of our members are pass-through operations, subchapter S, sole props, et cetera, that pay under individual rates. He is talking about eliminating the special 20% deduction that we got under the Trump tax bill, which again, 2/3 of our members generally qualify for. He's talking about doubling the capital gains rate over a certain threshold. So if you're thinking about selling your agency, there could be some very significant, in essence, doubling of your taxes on the sale of an independent agency if you're in that boat this coming year. And removing the cap on the payroll taxes, Social Security taxes for those over a certain income level as well. So it would be the largest tax tax increase in U.S. history if it goes through in that format. So stay tuned for that. There are some major consequences for independent agencies under that. The president during the campaign said he supported the public option, which is to create a government-run health insurance company, and it would be optional for individuals to opt into that. In essence, it's just another word for Medicare for all, except to be optional, not mandatory. My guess is a lot of employer-based health insurance plans will go away. A lot of employers will say, hey, I'm going to get rid of this and let my employees use the public option. They would have to take all comers if that's what individuals and businesses do. Many of you write group health insurance for your clients under employee benefits. So that would be a major hit on independent agencies if that public option were to be adopted. The president supports that. It will be remains to be seen whether that goes through. That probably cannot be done under reconciliation special process, which means that it would be under filibuster. My guess is that's going to have a higher threshold to pass in the Senate. Risk-based underwriting is under attack in some states right now. Washington State, New Jersey, where they want to go more to community-based underwriting, a la Obamacare, for property casualty. We're seeing a lot of groups come out. Washington Post just came out with an article. Consumer groups and some of these social justice groups are saying that risk-based underwriting is discriminatory, and you can't use gender for automobile rates. You can't use credit scoring for personal lines. You can't use zip code where you live for homeowners insurance. And they basically want to get to just driving records and have all homes treated the same no matter where they're located. So obviously that has huge implications for independent agents because if everybody's charging the exact same rate for every kind of coverage, it does reduce, in my opinion, the immediate value of an independent agency when everybody's selling the same vanilla kind of stuff. So we will be opposing that. We're already working with the insurance companies. We do believe in free markets. Some in Washington do not believe in free markets now. And that would be a radical change with not having risk-based underwriting. So we'd be more like a public utility industry than an actual private sector industry. We're looking at that. We're working with the NAIC on that as well. The business interruption bills will come back. We're working with the industry on some business interruption bills that we actually like, and we will probably have introduced in this coming Congress. There will be some we don't like. So major implications for your clients there. Actually, some business, the good news is more business opportunities for independent agents because it will be another product to sell to your business clients. They're talking about the Community Reinvestment Act for insurance companies. Currently, banks have a Community Reinvestment Act requirement where they have to provide low interest loans in distressed neighborhoods. There's a possibility insurance companies will have to comply with some of those same sorts of things that banks do. We'll see how that goes. And finally, the Karen-Ferguson Act could come back. Passed in 1945, it's the basis of state regulation of insurance. A limited antitrust exemption. The McCarran-Ferguson Act antitrust exemption was eliminated last year for health insurance companies. It didn't touch property casualty. There are some that believe that our antitrust exemption is anti-competitive, and that may come back for review in this Congress as well. So there's a lot going on for 2021. Our lobbyists are going to be taxed. I think you're going to see a lot of state legislatures that are going to have to react to federal law. A lot of governors are going to have to react to federal law. And of course, the state insurance commissioners and departments are going to have to react as well. So having said all of that, just in closing, I will say that, we have a Capitol Hill office that is 2 blocks from the Senate side of the Capitol. We were in the quote unquote green zone during the January 6th riot in Capitol Hill, which was very distressing for me as a former congressional staffer. My son and daughter were both former congressional staffers. All of your Capitol Hill lobbyists are former congressional staffers. I serve on the board of the U.S. Capitol Historical Society. So to me, that has always been hallowed ground. The seat, our republic, it's the people's legislature, and I was very distressed by what happened on January 6th. Having said that, we did have a peaceful transfer of power. Our country has survived worse incidents. As I said, the Civil War, where we were fighting each other and killing each other, was far worse than what we've seen over the last year. But I'm encouraged. We do have, despite everything you read, we do have some very good congressional leaders that actually do care dearly about this country. So divided government would have been better if the Republicans kept control of the Senate just as a check and balance. That didn't happen. But in 2 years, that could potentially be rectified. So having said all that, Dave, again, congratulations on your 100th anniversary. Anytime any of you need anything at the national level, call Bob Fee. He's always available. With that, Dave, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Bob. I think it's important for everybody to know on this phone call the amount of behind the scenes work that happens in DC from the government affairs team. So Bob, thank you for everything that you and your team does. I think this shines a spotlight even more so the importance of InsurePAC and being able to make connections. I got one question for you, and then we need to move on to our Kansas update. Tell me what's going on with the National Legislative Conference this year. It's moving virtual. When is that going to be? It kind of excites me that it's virtual because I think it allows more people, more of our members to get the message. So tell us when that will be.
Yeah, that's going to be in April. The exact dates have not been set yet for April, but it will be the same week that we originally had it scheduled for April. We're going to send out dates in the next week or two. It will be virtual. We're going to be more interactive this year than we were last year. So there'll be some Q&A sessions with some members of Congress. We're working on a bipartisan panel of a Republican and a Democrat member of Congress, and allow agents to ask questions of that panel as well. And I have a special guest from Fox News that I'll be interviewing live as well. I think you'll find that pretty cool. So it's going to be, we've learned a lot. We've become experts, as Bob Fee knows, on putting on some virtual board meetings, and Cindy Howard knows as well as, and so we're going to have the best virtual meeting we can possibly have in April. We've got the technological expertise to do it now, and we're going to have more members of Congress this year, and it's going to be more interactive. We'll still intersperse it with some videos and some pre-recorded things, but we're going to do more live this year.
Good. Well, I think one of the positives that's come out is the need for us as associations to become more proficient in the technology. It's been a challenge, but I think in the long run, we're better off for it. So Bob, thank you for joining us today in the update. We really appreciate it.
Thanks,
so
Dave.
Now let's...
One last thing, Dave. The Kansas City meeting where Bob Fee is installed is going to be live. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Good. Well, I look forward to being able to be in person with everybody. I can tell you that. I know our members do as well. So thank you, Bob. So now we're going to turn to the Kansas legislative update. And over the past several years, we've worked very closely with the insurance department in an effort to modernize the licensing process and to make it more efficient. So I'd like to welcome Commissioner Schmidt and Lee Modisette, who's the Director of Government Affairs, to say, Commissioner, to say a few words, and then for Lee to give us an update on the changes in producer licensing. So I will turn it over to you, Commissioner, and Lee, welcome.
Thank you very much, Dave. It is a pleasure to be with you today. Congratulations to the officers. Good luck. It's going to be a great productive year. I just know it is. And so good luck to you as you start your new terms. I wanted to just briefly visit with you all and tell you First of all, I want to tell you how much we value the relationship that we have with KAIA. It's a very good working relationship. I would say that it's not all, we don't always agree 100% on some of the issues that we discuss, but the conversation is very valuable, and it has helped shape better pieces of legislation as we move forward with our legislative agenda. And I really do appreciate that. And I want you to know how much we do appreciate it. I also wanted to say that some of you have heard me talk about this before, but wanted to tell you about the best part of my week, because the worst part of my week probably varies day to day, maybe even minute by minute, hour by hour at times. But the best part of my week always is calling new agents. And we take a sampling of the new agents across Kansas, and I get the list of across all lines and geographical locations. And it is very entertaining and so much fun to call them. The majority of them, maybe 1 out of 100 say like, who are you and why are you calling me? Literally, I've had them say that to me. Why do you want to talk to me? I said, you're not in trouble because I don't make those trouble calls. But anyway, it has been really fun to do that. Also in that same vein, this year we decided to celebrate our oldest licensed agent and our youngest licensed agent. Since we're virtually, it's not as much fun to ask you guys for a guess on how old the oldest agent is or how the youngest agent is, but I will tell you there's a 75-year difference in them. There is a 22-year-old that renewed a license, the youngest person to renew a license, I should say, and our 97-year-old is the oldest to renew a license. And I would say that my chief of staff, Mandy Rowe, probably deserves a lot of credit for him getting his license renewed. He may have had some issues with continuing education, and she walked him through those, and maybe even gave an extension so that we could make sure he was licensed. He tells us he is still actively selling and to his friends, which, well, yes. So 97 years old, that is called a hashtag goal for all of you now to beat that. We did send him a certificate. I noticed that Bob had talked about your 100th anniversary. This is the 150th anniversary on March 1st of the Kansas Insurance Department. We encourage all of you to follow us on social media, and we have some fun things planned. You know, there still can be some fun in this pandemic somewhere. And so we are going to be celebrating our 150th year. And we have reached out to fellow or former commissioners, and we have also reached out to some former longtime employees that I know many of you would remember their names and remember them, and I hope that's exciting for you. Lastly, I'd like to turn it over to Lee Modisette. I probably should thank you for your indulgence with Lee. No, I'm just kidding. He is a great person, and I can't think of a better person to send over to the legislature to try and help us with our legislative agenda. He's going to go through those bills with you, and certainly Dave will concentrate on that producer licensing bill. I hope Lee says this, but if not, I'll say it right up front. When I look at this and how many people, over 50 people are on this call, each one of you is represented by a person in the House of Representatives, and each one of you is represented in Kansas, and each one of you is represented by a Kansas senator. I would like to beg you, encourage you, and just would ask that each one of you contact, if you feel good about the producer licensing bill as we have negotiated and as it is written. I would encourage you in the next couple of weeks to reach, or maybe the next week, to reach out to them and to tell them how important this bill is. Because I know, as a former, or as I like to say, recovering legislator, I know how important it is to hear from people that like what you're doing, because believe you me, you hear from a lot of people who don't like what you're doing. So if you feel so inclined, whether that's a phone call, a text message, a virtual meeting or an email, we would appreciate you offering your support. So with that, if it's okay, Dave, I've got another, I have a whole 7 minutes until my next virtual platform meeting. I would tell you whether it's Zoom, webinar, or whatever, but I don't know. So anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to be before you, and I guess, Dave, I could take any questions if you want before we turn it over to Lee, or we can just turn it over to Lee, whatever you'd like.
Well, certainly if anybody has any questions in the next 7 minutes for the commissioner, please raise your hand and let us know. But I will say, Commissioner, how much we appreciate the open dialogue that we have and your willingness to always work with us and provide our feedback. I think it's been a great relationship, and I look forward to continuing that. So thank you for that.
I look forward to that too, and you are an integral part of Kansas business, Kansas livelihood, and I appreciate that as a Kansan, but we want to do our best to make sure that you continue to do business here in Kansas. So with that, I will let Lee take over, and thank you all very much, and please ask Lee a lot of hard questions. He's game. He's ready for you. So thanks so much. I'll see you.
Thanks, Vicki.
Bye-bye.
Lee, are you there?
I am.
All right,
Thanks
there you are.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you're going to get any harder questions than the Senate committee was asking you yesterday.
Well, the challenge is on for those on the call here, so I'll do my best. I do want to thank you all for making time. Bob, I appreciate the update from the national level. Former congressional staffer myself, spent 5 years with Congresswoman Jenkins' office, and just kind of hearing the federal update and looking back from what we dealt with to where we're at now. I certainly do not envy the position that the business community, especially the folks on this call, are in on a number of ways, a number of items from the federal level that certainly would cause concern, but glad to know there's good folks in DC fighting the good fight for agents. I thought I'd touch briefly kind of on some non-licensing things related to our legislative agenda. I won't get too much into the weeds because I know a lot of that is not as important to the folks on the call. Obviously important to the department though. We are up for accreditation later this year through the NAIC. For those who haven't heard this spiel before, that's every 5-year process. That's essentially the way that we know that companies are being adequately and properly regulated from state to state. If we don't pass that, then we end up subjecting our Kansas domestics to other states that they're doing business in. We obviously don't want that. That's not good for anybody. 2 of our bills are kind of on the way, as they say. We've had hearings. A couple of them have been kicked out of committee, mostly non-controversial because they are things we have to do. Some new members had questions about what we're trying to do, but one example would be credit for reinsurance, which is kind of to Bob's point about federal preemption. There was a federal law that was passed that basically told us we have to do this, and if we don't do this, then the feds will come in and make us do it anyway. So we're always trying to find that balance between preserving and maintaining our state-based regulation of insurance and keeping the feds with as much as we possibly can anyway out of our business. So a few things there. Those are non-controversial, moving right along. We have a securities victims restitution fund bill. Again, won't get into a lot of the details and weeds there, but if you fall victim to investment fraud, there's less than 7% chance that you will actually recover the funds that you lose. This fund would make some dollars available to try to offset those losses. No tax dollars are used there. Seems to be a pretty good feel-good bill, for lack of a better description, and have had good feedback so far. Producer licensing is the big one, and I will be honest, you all are very well represented on this issue, and I've been known to be pretty candid with folks when they ask questions. Maybe I'm a bad lobbyist in that regard because I don't really hide my hand too much. And I was asked yesterday in committee why we have 3 hours of ethics out of the 18. And I said, after we got done negotiating, that was the only thing we had left to hold on to. So obviously good-natured fun there, but I mean, that is kind of the reality. KAI has done a great job advocating for agents. And that's important because we're looking at this from a regulator perspective, certainly, but there's been a number of you that have spent time one-on-one with the commissioner in addition to meetings, really providing that business perspective. And certainly seems like based on the Washington update, some of these efficiencies couldn't have come at a better time, perhaps. So that had a hearing in both the House and the Senate that is kicked out of the House. There were no questions on it whatsoever, really. Once we got to that point, no opposition. Senate side, we do have a couple folks who have asked a number of questions, and we've certainly done our best to answer those. We feel like this is a really good balance between single and dual line agents. We are eliminating the automatic agent appointment, which is going to save industry, our estimates are, a little over $5 million a year. As you all know, those appointment fees, different carriers have considered, pushing those on down to agents. So on balance, we feel like looking at this from an industry-wide perspective, we're cutting CE hours for over half the agents licensed in Kansas. And this was a stat that I found it kind of interesting. And I know the commissioner likes to joke that Dave, of all folks here, for sure loves stats. We looked at agent licenses across the country, particularly in the health life space, because that has been where the largest number of questions have come from. And outside of Missouri, it's 16 hours. They have about 19,000 health life only agents. The rest of the country either has 20 or 24 hours of CE, and we're still at a little over 1 million agents who have to meet that 20 or 24 hour CE requirement. Our bill is at 18. So when we add it up, I noticed Kevin there has, looks like Allen Fieldhouse behind him. I'm a K-Stater, but I think we can unite around our disgust of Missouri. So we are two CE hours above Missouri, which once we get to the single unit of CE is the lowest in the country. So we'll actually be the second lowest. Everybody else will be above us. So we feel like this is a really good compromise with everybody that obviously KAI had a huge part in working with us on, and a number of you on this call. So I'll leave time for questions. That's kind of as quick as I can make that update I know you all have businesses to run and things to do, so I don't want to take too much of your time.
Are there any questions that you have of Lee or where we are? I think, as he's described, when we look legislatively right now, our biggest, what we're trying to accomplish, the Government Affairs Committee has been a proponent of the changes in producer licensing. We've worked with the Lee and the Commissioner's office for 2 years on this now. So our hope is that we can get this through and passed into law. But are there any other questions of Lee regarding the producer licensing bill or any other bills that may be out there, or legislative issues or concerns?
Dave, this is Cindy. Lee, have you heard any rumblings at all from the business community as far as trying to make any retroactive coverages for the business interruption in Kansas? It seems to be kind of a question that's come up maybe in more of the more coastal states or larger states, but just curious if anything's come up in Kansas.
None of that has made its way in front of the insurance committee, at least. I know those discussions are kind of ongoing. Our standard response to those questions has been, if there is a legislative fix, there are going to be plenty of folks who make the case as to why that could be a problem from a solvency standpoint. And for those kind of pending suits that are ongoing related to whether or not a policy did or did not in fact cover a pandemic, if it wasn't explicitly excluded, We certainly know that in some states, commissioners, in our view, have maybe overstretched their regulatory authority. We don't think we should do that. We don't think that's appropriate or legal, frankly. So we feel like those issues will be, folks on both sides of that are going to be well represented, and it'll. Fortunately and unfortunately, it'll have to be a situation that'll make its way through the court system. And I don't have a crystal ball, but I would imagine this ultimately makes its way to the U.S. Supreme Court, because it deals with a number of complexities, which you all know. And there is no great answer on this issue at all, unfortunately.
I also want to give Dan Murray the opportunity to give any updates or any thoughts that he has that he wants to share with the folks on the phone call. So Dan, do you have anything that you want to share with the members?
On the last one, standing in front of their lunch, Dave, I appreciate that. No,
yeah,
no, Lee, I want to extend a hand of gratitude to Lee and the department. They worked with us very closely on this producer licensure bill, and we're kind of slugging it out over there on the Senate side, working hand in hand, working that committee. I would say if there's an opportunity to reach out to your senator, particularly if they're on the Senate Insurance Committee, we would urge you to do so. And we'll likely reach out to some of you that have a representative on that committee. Beyond that, just generally speaking, I'll give an update on kind of where we're at in the session, Dave, if that helps paint a picture. We're a few weeks into the session. A couple big things have happened. One that is important, I think, to agents and businesses was the extension of business and product liability protections related to COVID. Last year in special session, we passed those provisions, and they were set to expire January 26th. The first order of business, and we hit the ground running here in the first couple weeks of session, was to move that field goal down the range a little bit and provide additional protections. We didn't get a long-term fix, but we did get those protections extended through March 31st. In the meantime, they'll work on a long-term fix, and we'll see if business liability stays in there. There are a host of bills that we're watching. We're hoping that most of those don't see the light of day. There are some work comp bills, some other health insurance kind of mandate bills, and others, but so far, I don't sense that most of those are moving. I think, and it was mentioned, I think earlier by you, Dave, when you're referencing HR partners, one of the overarching small business issues that are impacting you all and your clients is unemployment insurance fraud. They're undergoing a hearing starting today, and then there will be a bill next week. A lot of action in that front. Just to paint a picture of the amount of fraud in Kansas, we had 66,000 claims last week. That's more than California and Texas. There were, in Oklahoma, 2,500 claims in the same period. In Missouri, I think there were around 10,000 claims. So as a result, the governor on Friday shut down the entire system. They just couldn't handle it. Some concerns about maybe some malfeasance and certainly some ineptitude, but our security system was breached. Many on this call probably received 1099-Gs, indicating that they've received a benefit. How are we going to deal with that? Part of the bill next week that we'll hear will provide indemnity to individuals that have received those 1099. So that's something it's unemployment insurance. I know you all don't sell that, but it is something that is an overarching business issue that's got some real ramifications, particularly because we've drawn down so much money from the UI Trust Fund. And so we're going to trip a trigger on the tax level for that fund. So in any event, Dave, that's kind of a down and dirty, quick and dirty update from my perspective.
Great. Well, we are at the appointed hour, so I would just like to express my appreciation for all that joined our first annual meeting, our first virtual annual meeting. So thank you for that, and know that KAIA is here if there's anything that you need. So reach out to our staff if there's anything we can help you with. So with that, I will end the meeting. And
So
thank
Carlos,
all
you
for
did
joining.
good, Dave.
And Doug got his gavel. Look at that. Man, you drive really
Hey.
fast, Christy. So thank you all, and let us know if you need anything, and take care. Bye
Thank
now.
you all.
Thank you.